Heart's Reckoning, complete story. The betrayal. The night everything changed. Elena Martinez stood in the marble lobby of the Fontainebleau Hotel, her phone pressed against her ear, listening to yet another bride panic about centerpiece flowers. The Miami skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her, a view she'd stopped noticing years ago. Success had made her numb to beauty. "Mrs. Davidson, the peonies will be perfect. Trust me, I've done this 300 times." Elena's voice carried that smooth confidence that came from being the best wedding planner in Miami. At 32, she had built sterling events from nothing into a multi-million-dollar company. Her client list read like a who's who of Miami's elite. The call ended, and Elena checked her reflection in the polished elevator doors. Designer suit, perfect makeup, hair pulled back in that effortless bun that actually took 20 minutes to create. She looked every inch the successful woman she'd worked so hard to become. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, working late again. "Don't wait up. Love you." Elena frowned slightly. That was the third time this week. But Marcus Chen was building his real estate empire, and she understood ambition. They were the power couple everyone envied. 5 years together, living in a stunning penthouse overlooking Biscayne Bay, planning their own wedding for next spring. On impulse, Elena decided to surprise him. The Davidson wedding had wrapped up early, and she missed him. They'd barely seen each other lately. She stopped by their favorite restaurant, picked up his favorite meal, and headed home with a smile. The shattering. The penthouse was on the 42nd floor. Elena's heels clicked across the marble as she balanced the takeout bags and searched for her keys. Soft music drifted from inside. Her heart warmed. Maybe Marcus had come home early too. She unlocked the door quietly, wanting to surprise him. The apartment was dimly lit, candles flickering on every surface. Rose petals scattered across the floor leading to the bedroom. Elena's smile froze. This wasn't for her. She'd been gone for 3 days. Her hands started shaking as she set down the food and followed the trail of petals. Each step felt like walking through water. The bedroom door stood half open, and through it, she heard sounds that made her stomach drop. Elena pushed the door wide. Marcus was in their bed. But he wasn't alone. The woman beneath him had familiar auburn hair, a distinctive tattoo on her shoulder that Elena had been with her when she got it 7 years ago. Sophia. Her best friend since college. Her maid of honor. The woman who'd held Elena when her father died, who'd helped her start her business, who'd been family when Elena had no one else. "Oh my God," Elena whispered. They sprang apart. Marcus grabbed a sheet. Sophia's face went pale, then red, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Elena, I can explain," Marcus started. "Explain?" Elena's voice came out strange, hollow. "Explain what? How long?" Silence. Damning, terrible silence. "How long?" Elena screamed at this time. 2 years, Sophia said quietly, pulling on a robe. Not Marcus's robe. A robe she kept here. 2 years meant she'd been coming here regularly. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was a relationship. Elena's knees buckled. She caught herself on the doorframe. 2 years. While you planned my wedding with me? While you came to family dinners? While you cried in my arms about your dating problems? Elena, please. Sophia moved toward her. It just happened. We fell in love. I'm sorry. You fell in love. Elena laughed, a horrible broken sound. In my bed. In my home. With my fiancé. Marcus finally spoke, his voice cold in a way Elena had never heard. We didn't want you to find out like this. We were going to tell you. When? At our wedding? There isn't going to be a wedding, Elena. Marcus stood, suddenly looking annoyed rather than guilty. Be honest. We haven't been right for each other in years. You care more about your business than our relationship. Sophia understands what I need. Elena stared at him. 5 years, and she'd never really known him at all. Get out, she whispered. This is my apartment, Marcus said flatly. You get out. The destruction. Elena learned that night that betrayal was just the beginning. True devastation was methodical. Within a week, Marcus had used his connections to poison her reputation. Whispers started that Elena had been stealing from clients, that her success was built on lies and manipulation. Former brides called to cancel upcoming weddings. Vendors refused to work with her. Her business partner, scared of the scandal, bought her out at a fraction of what Sterling Events was worth. Elena's family took Marcus's side. Her mother, who had never approved of Elena's independence, said she'd driven him away with her ambition. Her brother, who'd invested money with Marcus, cut her off completely to protect his interests. The penthouse, it turned out, was only in Marcus's name. Elena had 30 days to vacate. Sophia posted photos on social media within 2 weeks. Her wearing Elena's engagement ring, the one Elena had helped Marcus pick out. The caption, sometimes love finds you when you least expect it. Hashtag no regrets, hashtag true love. Elena sat in her nearly empty penthouse, everything she owned packed into 6 boxes, scrolling through messages from people she'd thought were friends. Most had chosen sides, and it wasn't hers. She'd built her entire life around success, around being perfect, around a man who'd never loved her and a best friend who'd stabbed her in the back. She had $8,000 left after Marcus's lawyers took everything else, claiming she owed him for shared expenses over the years. Her business was gone. Her reputation destroyed. Her family ashamed of her. Her friends vanished. Elena looked out at the Miami skyline one last time and made a decision. She couldn't rebuild here, where every corner held memories and enemies. She needed to disappear. She found Coral Bay on a map, a tiny coastal town 4 hours north. Population, 3,200. No one would know her there. No one would care about Miami scandal. She could start over, become someone new, someone simpler. Someone who couldn't be destroyed again. New beginnings in Coral Bay. Coral Bay looked like a postcard. Pastel buildings, palm trees swaying in the ocean breeze, streets so quiet Elena could hear the waves from anywhere in town. It was the opposite of Miami in every way, which made it perfect. The Driftwood Cafe sat right on the beach, a weathered building with blue shutters and string lights wrapped around the porch posts. A help wanted sign hung in the window. Elena pushed through the door, a bell chiming overhead. The smell of coffee and fresh bread wrapped around her. The cafe was busy with the lunch crowd, every table full of locals who clearly all knew each other. Be right with you. A voice called from behind the counter. Elena waited, watching a man in his late 30s expertly handle 3 orders at once. He was tall, with sun-darkened skin and dark hair that curled slightly at his collar. He moved with quiet efficiency, smiling at customers but saying little. When the rush cleared, he turned to Elena. Table for one? Actually, I'm here about the job. He studied her for a moment, his dark eyes taking in her expensive but rumpled clothes, her designer bag, her obvious exhaustion. You have restaurant experience? No, Elena admitted. But I'm a fast learner. I've run events for hundreds of people. I can multitask, handle stress, and I really need this job. Something in her voice must have convinced him. He extended his hand. James Rivera. Owner. When can you start? Right now. James's lips quirked into a small smile. I'm Mia's dad too. She's 7, and she likes to hang out here after school. You okay with kids? I love kids. Then grab an apron. Welcome to the Driftwood. Elena tied on the apron with shaking hands. 6 weeks ago, she'd been planning a $300,000 wedding. Now she was grateful for a server job in a town where nobody knew her name. And somehow, that felt like freedom. finding solid ground. The cottage James rented her was tiny, barely 400 square feet, tucked behind his house at the edge of town. It had a small bedroom, a kitchen the size of a closet, and a porch that looked out at the ocean. The rent was absurdly cheap. "It's been empty for a while," James said, handing her the key. "My wife used to use it as her art studio. After she died, I couldn't bring myself to go in there. Maybe it needs someone who can give it new life." "Your wife?" "Cancer. 2 years ago." He said it simply, without drama, but Elena heard the weight beneath the words. Mia was 5. She doesn't remember much about her. "I'm sorry." James nodded and left her alone. Elena stood in the empty cottage and cried for the first time since leaving Miami. Not just for herself, but for James, for his daughter, for everyone who'd lost something they couldn't get back. Then she unpacked her 6 boxes and started over. Working at the Driftwood was nothing like running Sterling events, but Elena discovered she liked the simplicity of it. Take orders, serve food, clean tables, repeat. Her feet hurt by the end of each shift, but her mind was quiet for the first time in years. Mia came in every day at 3:15, dropped off by the school bus. She was small for 7, with her father's dark eyes and wild curls that refused to be tamed. She did homework at the corner booth, occasionally interrupting to tell Elena elaborate stories about her day. "And then Tommy said his dog could fly, but I said that's impossible because dogs don't have wings, but he said this dog was special, and I said..." "Mia," James called gently from behind the counter. "Let Elena work." "It's okay," Elena said, surprising herself. "I like hearing about flying dogs." Mia beamed. "You're nice." "The last server said kids should be seen and not heard." "Well, I think kids should be heard, seen, and given extra whipped cream." "Can I have extra whipped cream?" Mia. "One time won't hurt," Elena said, winking at the little girl. James shook his head, but Elena caught his smile as he turned away. Ghosts and growth. 3 months passed. Elena's hands became calloused from carrying trays. Her expensive clothes were replaced with simple jeans and t-shirts. Her perfect hair grew out, falling in natural waves she'd forgotten she had. Without makeup, without designer labels, without the armor of success, Elena started to recognize herself again. She was the girl who'd loved helping people celebrate, not because of the money, but because of the joy. She was the woman who'd dreamed of creating beautiful moments, before those moments became just another business transaction. At night, in her tiny cottage, Elena sometimes allowed herself to think about Marcus and Sophia. About the life she'd lost. But the pain was different now, less sharp, more like an old bruise that only hurt when pressed. James became a quiet constant in her life. He taught her to surf on her days off, laughing when she fell off the board for the 20th time. He showed her the best spots to watch the sunset. He told her about his wife, Anna, who'd been a painter and dreamer, who'd made him leave his high-stress architecture job and buy the cafe so they could have a simple life. "I fought her on it," James admitted one evening as they closed up the cafe together. "I thought I needed the success, the recognition. After she died, I realized she'd been trying to give me what actually mattered." "What's that?" "Time. Presence. Being here for the people who need you, not for the people who pay you." Elena looked at him in the dim light of the cafe, surrounded by the smell of coffee and ocean air. "Do you ever regret it? Giving up architecture?" "Every day I wake up with Mia, I thank Anna for forcing my hand." He paused, then added quietly, "You're running from something, aren't you?" Elena's breath caught. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who's been there." James began wiping down tables. "You don't have to tell me. But whoever you were before, she must have been carrying a lot of weight. This version of you seems lighter." Elena thought about that long after she'd locked up the cottage. James was right. She was lighter. The question was, could she stay this way? Or would the ghosts of her past eventually find her? She'd learn the answer sooner than she thought. Part 2, The Rising, 2000 words. Healing through small moments. The morning sun painted Coral Bay in shades of gold and pink. Elena sat on her cottage porch with coffee, watching the waves roll in. 6 months had passed since she'd arrived, and she'd stopped counting the days. Time moved differently here, measured in tides and sunsets instead of meetings and deadlines. Miss Elena. Mia's voice broke through her thoughts. The little girl came running across the yard, still in her pajamas, her curls bouncing wildly. Daddy's making pancakes, and he said you should come. Elena smiled. These impromptu breakfast invitations had become common. James would cook too much food by accident, and Mia would be dispatched to invite Elena. They all pretended it wasn't planned. Give me 5 minutes to change. Bring the syrup from your cottage. Daddy forgot to buy more. Elena grabbed the syrup and walked across the yard to James's house. It was bigger than her cottage but still modest, painted yellow with white trim, surrounded by wild beach roses that Anna had planted. Inside, it smelled like coffee and vanilla. James stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with practiced ease. He wore old jeans and a faded t-shirt, his feet bare, his hair still messy from sleep. He looked nothing like Marcus with his designer suits and perfect appearance, and Elena found herself grateful for the difference. Morning, James said without turning around. Mia, set the table. They ate on the back porch, Mia chattering about her upcoming school play. She'd been cast as a tree, which she insisted was the most important role because without trees, where would birds live? Solid logic, Elena agreed, stealing a strawberry from Mia's plate. Hey! Mia giggled. Daddy, Miss Elena is a thief. Arrest her, James said solemnly. Mia jumped up and grabbed Elena's hands. You're going to pancake jail. Elena let herself be pulled into the house, Mia's laughter echoing through the rooms. When was the last time she'd laughed like this? When had mornings been about joy instead of emails and stress? Later, after Mia left for school, Elena helped James clean up. They worked in comfortable silence, a rhythm they'd developed over months of shared shifts at the cafe. She's getting attached to you, James said quietly. I hope that's okay. I'm attached to her too. James dried a plate slowly. Anna used to say that some people come into your life for a reason. I think Mia needed you. Hell, I think we both did. Elena's chest tightened. I needed you too. Both of you. You gave me a place when I had nowhere to go. You gave yourself a place. I just provided the building. James turned to face her. You're stronger than you know, Elena. Their eyes met and held. Something unspoken passed between them, something that made Elena's heart race and scared her at the same time. She wasn't ready. She might never be ready. James seemed to sense it. He stepped back, smiled gentle. Come on. We've got a lunch rush to prep for. The art of starting over. At the cafe, Elena had started doing more than just serving. She'd noticed the event's calendar was empty and suggested they host things. An open mic night. A Sunday brunch series. A local artist showcase. You have a gift for this, James observed, watching Elena arrange tables for that evening's poetry night. I used to plan weddings, Elena said. The words came easier now. Big, expensive, elaborate weddings for people who cared more about impressing guests than celebrating love. Is that why you stopped? I stopped because my fiancé was sleeping with my best friend, destroyed my business out of spite, and I lost everything. Elena set down a vase of flowers. But yeah, I'd stopped loving it long before that. James was quiet for a moment. What's his name? The guy who didn't deserve you? Marcus Chen. He's a real estate developer in Miami. She's Sophia Reyes, social media influencer. They're probably still together, living my old life. His loss, James said simply. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you show up every day. I know you're patient with Mia. I know you cry during the romantic parts of movies but try to hide it. I know you give free coffee to the homeless guy who sits outside, pretending you're just testing a new blend. I know enough. Elena blinked back sudden tears. Why are you so nice to me? Because someone should be. That night, the poetry event was packed. Elena watched from behind the counter as locals shared their words, their hearts, their stories. This was what she'd forgotten, that events weren't about perfection. They were about connection. As the evening wound down, James appeared beside her. You're glowing. I forgot how good this feels. Creating something meaningful. Maybe you could do this full time. We could partner up. You handle events, I handle food. Coral Bay celebrations. You're serious? I've watched you come back to life over 6 months. Yeah, I'm serious. James smiled. Besides, Mia's already designing business cards in crayon. Elena laughed, but before she could respond, the cafe door opened. A well-dressed couple walked in, out of place among the casual locals. The woman wore designer heels and a dress that cost more than Elena used to make in a week. Elena's blood turned to ice. It was Sophia. The ghost appears. Sophia's eyes scanned the cafe with barely concealed disdain before landing on Elena behind the counter. Her expression cycled through shock, confusion, and something that looked almost like triumph. Oh my God, Sophia said loudly. Elena? Is that really you? Every head in the cafe turned. Elena felt James step closer behind her, a silent support. Sophia. Elena's voice came out steady. What are you doing here? We're scouting wedding venues. This whole coast is so charming and authentic. Sophia walked forward, her heels clicking on the wooden floor. The man behind her followed. Marcus. He looked exactly the same. Perfect suit, perfect hair, that smile that had once made Elena's heart skip. Now it just looked plastic. Elena, Marcus said, his shock genuine. I never expected, you look so different. That happens when you strip away all the fake parts, Elena replied. Sophia laughed, a tinkling sound that used to seem musical but now just sounded cruel. Well, aren't you zen? Playing at the simple life. How cute. I'm not playing at anything. Right. Sophia held up her left hand, where a massive diamond caught the light. Elena's old ring had been replaced with something bigger. We're getting married. In 3 months. We wanted a destination wedding, something intimate and beachy. Marcus suggested this area because he has some development deals up here. Congratulations, Elena said flatly. Marcus stepped forward. Look, Elena, I know things ended badly. You mean when you destroyed my business and my life? But I think we can all be adults about this. He pulled out a business card. Actually, we need a wedding planner. Local recommendations haven't been impressive. When I saw you here, I thought, who better to plan our wedding than someone who knows what we like? Elena stared at him. You can't be serious. I'll pay you $50,000. More than you'd make here in 2 years. Marcus glanced around the cafe dismissively. It could help you get back on your feet. I am on my feet. Sophia leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper only Elena could hear. Come on, Elena. We both know you're playing pretend. This isn't you. You're meant for bigger things. Plan our wedding, take the money, and stop punishing yourself for being ambitious. Elena felt rage building in her chest. But before she could respond, James's hand landed gently on her shoulder. I think it's time for you to leave, James said calmly. Marcus looked at him for the first time. And you are? The owner. And the man telling you that your business isn't welcome here. Excuse me? Marcus's voice took on that threatening tone Elena remembered. Do you know who I am? Someone who doesn't understand when he's not wanted. James didn't move, but his presence seemed to fill the space. Elena said no. That's the end of the conversation. Sophia smirked. How noble. Let me guess, you're the rebound? The simple guy who makes her feel safe after the big bad businessman hurt her? She looked at Elena. Honey, we both know you'll get bored. You always need more. Get out, Elena said. Now. We're staying at the Ocean View Resort, Marcus said, placing his card on the counter. When you come to your senses, call me. The offer expires in 48 hours. They left, Sophia's laughter trailing behind them like poison. The cafe was silent. Elena realized her hands were shaking. James gently took them in his. You okay? No, Elena whispered. No, I'm really not. The temptation. Elena couldn't sleep. She sat on her cottage porch at 2 a.m., staring at Marcus's business card. $50,000. It was more money than she'd seen since everything fell apart. She could pay off her remaining debts. Maybe start her own event business here in Coral Bay. Maybe. Can't sleep either? Elena jumped. James stood in his yard, barefoot, holding a beer. How long have you been out here? Long enough. He walked over and sat on her porch steps. Want to talk about it? I keep thinking about the money. That's natural. Is it crazy that I'm considering it? Elena laughed bitterly. Planning the wedding for the people who destroyed my life? It's not crazy. It's human. James took a long drink. But I think you need to ask yourself what you'd be doing it for. The money? Or something else? What else could there be? Revenge. Proving something. Showing them you're not destroyed. James looked at her. Or maybe trying to get closure on a chapter that won't close. Elena was quiet. When Anna died, did you ever want to hurt the world the way it hurt you? Every single day for a year. James's voice was rough. I was so angry. At God, at doctors, at Anna for leaving me, at myself for not being able to save her. Mia would cry for her mama, and I'd want to scream at the universe for being so unfair. What changed? Mia said to me one day, Daddy, if you keep being sad, then Mama's gone and we're sad. That's two bad things. Can't we have just one bad thing and one good thing? She was 6. James smiled sadly. She was right. I couldn't bring Anna back. But I could choose whether grief destroyed our present too. You think I should say no? I think you should do what you need to do. But Elena? He looked at her seriously. Revenge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Whatever you decide, make sure you can live with who you become. After James left, Elena sat with those words. She thought about the last 6 months. The peace she'd found. The laughter. The simple joy of making Mia giggle or watching James surf or creating beautiful events for people who genuinely loved each other. She thought about the woman she'd been in Miami, always chasing more, never satisfied, measuring her worth in client lists and social status. She thought about Marcus's face when he saw her behind the counter, the pity and dismissal in his eyes. As the sun began to rise over the ocean, Elena made her decision. She picked up her phone. The devil's bargain. Marcus? It's Elena. I'll plan your wedding. There was a pause, then Marcus's satisfied laugh. I knew you'd come around. Sophia thought you'd be too proud, but I told her, you're a businesswoman. You understand opportunity. I have conditions. Name them. Full creative control. You don't question my decisions. I plan everything my way. Done. And I want $75,000. Half up front. Marcus whistled. That's steep. That's my price for working with people I hate. Take it or leave it. Done. When can we meet? Elena looked out at the ocean, the waves steady and constant. Tomorrow. At the cafe. Noon. See you then. And Elena? I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. Elena hung up without responding. She sat there as the sun climbed higher, wondering if she'd just made the best or worst decision of her life. Probably both. When she arrived at the cafe later, James was already there, setting up for the day. He looked at her, and she knew he could see the decision on her face. You're doing it. I'm doing it. James nodded slowly. Then do it right. Don't let them pull you back into being someone you're not. What if I don't know who I am anymore? You're the woman who gave Mia her mother's paintbrushes yesterday because you noticed she liked to draw. You're the person who learned everyone's name and coffee order in this town within a month. You're Elena. That's enough. Elena hugged him suddenly, fiercely. James wrapped his arms around her, steady and warm. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For reminding me who I want to be. When Marcus and Sophia arrived at noon, Elena was ready. She had a contract prepared, professional and thorough. She had a vision board with photos that would make them happy. She had a plan. But unlike before, she also had something else. She had people who cared about her, a place that felt like home, and a reason to ensure that whatever happened next, she wouldn't lose herself again. Sophia barely glanced at the vision board. It's fine, whatever. Just make it Instagram perfect. I want everyone who sees the photos to be jealous. Of course, Elena said smoothly. I specialize in creating envy. Marcus missed the edge in her voice. You always were the best. I'm glad we can put the past behind us and work together. Oh, the past is very much present, Elena said. But yes, let's work together. As they discussed details, Elena's phone buzzed. A text from James, Mia wants you for dinner tonight. We're making tacos. You in? Elena looked at Marcus and Sophia, absorbed in their own reflection in her mood board photos, and then at her phone. I'm in, she texted back. Whatever revenge looked like, whatever justice meant, Elena knew one thing for certain. These people had taken enough from her. They wouldn't take her soul too. The wedding planning began, but so did Elena's real plan. She would give them exactly what they deserved. And she would do it without becoming them. Part 3, The Reckoning, 2,000 words. The Web of Secrets. Over the next month, Elena threw herself into wedding planning with an intensity that surprised even her. But this time every decision had a double purpose. Every vendor she hired, every detail she arranged, was a piece in a larger puzzle. The venue is perfect, Sophia gushed, looking at photos of the Coral Bay Cliffside Resort. Can you imagine the sunset photos? My followers will die. It's all about the visuals, Elena agreed, taking notes. Speaking of which, I'll need access to your social media accounts to plan the hashtag campaign. Oh, smart. Sophia handed over passwords without hesitation. I knew you'd understand the importance of online presence. Marcus was equally careless. When Elena asked about the guest list, he gave her access to his email contacts. When she suggested a surprise video montage for the reception, he provided her with his laptop password to pull photos. You always were thorough, Marcus said, leaning back in his chair during one planning session. I miss working with someone competent. Sophia isn't competent? Elena asked innocently. Sophia is decorative. Marcus said it like it was a compliment. She's perfect for my image. But business? That's not her thing. Elena saw Sophia's face tighten from across the room. First crack in the facade. At night, Elena went through everything they'd given her access to. She wasn't a hacker, but she was smart, and people who felt superior were careless. Marcus's emails revealed his real estate deals, including one that made her stomach drop. He was embezzling from SRR Holdings, moving money through shell companies. SRR Holdings. Sophia's father's company, where she was listed as a board member. Elena kept digging. Marcus was planning to use the wedding as cover for a major transaction, transferring embezzled funds while everyone was distracted by the ceremony. Then there was Sophia's social media. Private messages revealed she'd been seeing someone on the side for months. Brad, Marcus's business partner. The messages were explicit, cruel, mocking Marcus even as she planned to marry him. "He's so boring in bed. Thank God you keep me satisfied. Just a few more months and we'll have access to everything. Then we can dump him." Elena sat back in her cottage, surrounded by printouts and notes. They were both planning to betray each other. They deserved each other, and they deserved exposure. But how to do it without destroying herself in the process? "You've been distracted," James said one morning, sliding coffee across the counter to her. "Is the wedding getting to you?" "I found some things," Elena admitted. "Bad things?" "About both of them." "Like what?" Elena hesitated, then told him everything. James listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. "So what are you going to do?" he asked when she finished. "I'm going to give them the wedding they deserve." "Elena. I know what you're going to say. That revenge won't heal me. That I should walk away." Elena met his eyes. "But they're committing actual crimes. Marcus is stealing from Sophia's family. Sophia's planning to steal from Marcus. They're going to hurt other people. Don't I have a responsibility to stop that?" James was quiet for a long moment. "There's a difference between justice and revenge. Make sure you know which one you're serving. Can't it be both?" "Maybe. But at what cost?" Elena didn't have an answer. The final preparations. The last week before the wedding was chaos. 200 guests were arriving in Coral Bay, filling every hotel and rental property. The resort was transformed into a wonderland of white roses and twinkling lights. Elena had orchestrated every detail perfectly. She'd also arranged for certain guests to receive certain information at certain times. A local journalist got an anonymous tip about Marcus's business dealings. The SEC got a package of financial documents. Sophia's father received records of unusual transactions in his company accounts. But the main event would be the reception video. "I need your help," Elena told James 3 days before the wedding. They sat in her cottage, and Elena's laptop was open to a video editing program. "I'm not sure I should be involved in this," James said carefully. "I know. But I can't do it alone." Elena looked at him. "I'm not trying to destroy them for fun. I'm trying to stop them from hurting anyone else. That's justice, right? Is it? Or are you just dressing up revenge in noble clothes?" "Maybe both. Maybe I'm not a good person, James. Maybe I'm just as petty and vindictive as they are." James took her hand. "You're not. I've watched you for 8 months now. I've seen how you treat Mia, how you care about people, how you've rebuilt yourself into someone real. But this?" He gestured at the laptop. "This might break something in you that you can't fix." "I'm already broken." "No, you're healing. There's a difference." James squeezed her hand. "I'll help you because I care about you. But Elena, whatever happens after this, you have to promise me something." "What?" "That you won't let them take your peace. Whatever revenge you get, it's not worth losing yourself." Elena nodded, throat tight. They worked through the night, assembling the perfect video. Sophia's messages to Brad, timestamped and clear. Marcus's financial documents, simplified into easy-to-understand graphics. A timeline showing how they'd both been planning to betray each other. The video ended with a simple message: "What's a wedding without some honest vows?" The wedding day. The day dawned perfect and beautiful. Blue sky, gentle breeze, temperature exactly right. Elena arrived at the resort at dawn, overseeing final details. Flowers were positioned. Chairs aligned. The arch decorated with white roses and trailing greenery. Sophia arrived at noon for photos, surrounded by bridesmaids and makeup artists. She barely acknowledged Elena. Where's the videographer? Sophia demanded. Setting up the reception area, Elena answered smoothly. He'll be here for the ceremony. Marcus was in the groom's suite, drinking scotch with groomsmen. When Elena dropped off his boutonniere, he pulled her aside. I wanted to say something before all this. Marcus's breath smelled like expensive alcohol. You could have had this. All of this. If you'd just been different. You're right, Elena said quietly. I could have been someone who values things over people, money over integrity, image over truth. Thank God I'm not. She walked away before he could respond. The ceremony began at 4 p.m. 200 guests filled white chairs facing the ocean. String quartet playing. Flower girls scattering petals. Everything picture perfect. Elena watched from the shadows as Sophia walked down the aisle in a dress that cost more than a car. Marcus waited at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, smiling at his guests. They looked perfect together. Perfectly fake, perfectly selfish, perfectly matched. The ceremony was brief. Traditional vows that neither of them meant. A kiss that looked passionate for the cameras but was cold to anyone really watching. Then they turned to face their applauding guests as husband and wife. Elena felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pain, no anger. Just a quiet certainty that what was about to happen needed to happen. The revelation. The reception glowed with candlelight and flowers. Dinner was served, champagne flowed, speeches were made. Sophia's father toasted to young love, unaware that his company was being drained by his new son-in-law. Marcus's mother talked about family values, oblivious to her son's betrayal. Elena ensured everything ran smoothly. First dance, cake cutting, all the traditional moments. She was the perfect wedding planner, invisible but essential. At 9 p.m., as planned, the MC announced the special video presentation. The bride and groom have prepared something special for you all, he announced. A journey through their love story. The lights dimmed. The massive screen flickered to life. Sophia and Marcus turned to watch, expecting the sentimental montage they'd approved. The first images were what they expected. Photos of them together, looking happy and in love. Romantic music playing. Guests smiled and nodded. Then the music stopped. Sophia's face appeared on screen, but not from a photo. From her video messages to Brad. Her voice, crystal clear, saying, Marcus is so boring in bed. Thank God you keep me satisfied. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sophia went white. Turn it off, she screamed. But the video continued. More messages appeared, each one worse than the last. Sophia and Brad making fun of Marcus, planning how to steal from him, explicit details of their affair. Marcus stood frozen, his face cycling through shock, rage, and humiliation. Then the video shifted. Financial documents filled the screen, simplified into graphics that anyone could understand. Marcus's name highlighted, showing money transfers, shell companies, embezzled funds. A voiceover explained, while planning this wedding, Marcus Chen has been stealing from SRR Holdings, the company owned by his new father-in-law. Total estimated theft, $3.2 million. Sophia's father stood up, face purple with fury. You son of a... The video kept going. More evidence. Emails between Marcus and offshore accounts. Proof of falsified documents. A timeline showing how he'd used his relationship with Sophia to gain access to her family's money. Then the finale. Split screen showing Sophia's messages and Marcus's financial crimes, side by side. The final message appeared, what's a wedding without honest vows? The lights came up. Silence. Complete, devastating silence. Then chaos erupted. Sophia lunged at Marcus, screaming obscenities. Her father was on his phone, presumably calling lawyers or police. Guests pulled out their phones, recording, posting, the scandal spreading in real time across social media. Brad tried to slip out the back, but one of Marcus's groomsmen tackled him. You've been sleeping with her? Marcus stood in the center of it all, his perfect facade crumbling. He looked around wildly until his eyes landed on Elena, standing calmly at the edge of the room. You, he breathed. This was you. Elena walked forward slowly. The room quieted, everyone turning to watch. Yes, Elena said simply. This was me. You vindictive bitch, Sophia snarled, mascara running down her face. You're just jealous. Jealous? Elena laughed, and it was a real laugh, not bitter at all. Of what? A cheater and a thief who deserve each other? No, Sophia. I'm grateful. For what? For showing me who you really were before I wasted any more time. For forcing me to lose everything so I could find what actually matters. Elena looked at Marcus. You thought destroying my business would destroy me. Instead, it freed me. I'll sue you, Marcus threatened, his voice shaking with rage. I'll destroy you worse than before. With what money? Elena gestured to the screens. The SEC has all your records now. So does the IRS. And every news outlet in Miami. You're done, Marcus. Sophia screamed and charged at Elena. James appeared from nowhere, stepping between them, his presence radiating protective fury. Touch her, and I'll make sure you regret it, James said quietly. Hotel security was rushing in now, trying to control the chaos. Police were being called. Lawyers were arriving. The perfect wedding had become a perfect disaster. Elena turned and walked away from it all. She made it to the beach before the tears came. The aftermath. Elena sat in the sand, watching the waves roll in. Behind her, she could hear the chaos continuing at the resort. Sirens in the distance. Shouting. The sound of her carefully planned revenge reaching its conclusion. She felt empty. Not victorious, not satisfied, just hollow. Elena. James sat beside her, Mia asleep in his arms. They must have been nearby the whole time. I thought I'd feel better, Elena whispered. I thought exposing them would heal something. But I just feel dirty. Revenge never feels the way you think it will. James shifted Mia gently. But what you did wasn't just revenge. They were criminals. You stopped them from hurting more people. Then why do I feel like I became just like them? Because you're human. Because using their weapons, even for the right reasons, leaves marks. James looked at her seriously. The question is, what do you do now? Elena looked out at the ocean. She thought about the woman she'd been in Miami, driven by ambition and pride. The broken woman who'd arrived in Coral Bay with nothing. The healer who'd found peace in simplicity. I don't want to be defined by them anymore, Elena said. Not by loving Marcus or hating him. Not by what they did to me or what I did to them. I just want to be me. Then be you. I don't know if I remember how. James smiled. Yes, you do. You're the woman who makes my daughter laugh. Who knows everyone's coffee order? Who plans beautiful events because you love creating joy? That's who you are. Tonight was just closing a door so you could fully walk through a new one. Mia stirred in James's arms, her eyes fluttering open. Miss Elena? Why are you sad? Elena wiped her tears. Just thinking about things, sweetie. Daddy says thinking too much gives you wrinkles. Mia reached out and patted Elena's cheek. You should smile more. You're prettier when you smile. Elena laughed despite herself. Thank you, Mia. Are you gonna keep planning weddings? Elena looked at James, then back at Mia. Maybe. But only for people who really love each other. Like you and Daddy? Both adults froze. Mia looked between them innocently. What do you mean, sweetheart? James asked carefully. You look at Miss Elena the way you looked at Mama in pictures. Like she's your favorite person. Mia yawned. And Miss Elena looks at you like that too. So you should get married and then we can all live together and be a family. Out of the mouths of babes. Elena couldn't look at James. Her heart was pounding. They hadn't talked about their feelings, the careful distance they'd maintained even as they grew closer. Mia, James said softly. It's not that simple. Why not? You're both happy when you're together. I'm happy when we're all together. That's what Mama would want. She told me before she died that she wanted you to be happy again. Elena's breath caught. James's eyes were shining with unshed tears. She told you that? James whispered. You never said. I was scared if I told you, you'd feel like you had to be happy even if you weren't ready. Mia touched her father's face. But you're ready now. I can tell. James looked at Elena over his daughter's head. I am, he said. If you are. Elena thought about everything she'd been through. The betrayal, the loss, the slow healing, the revenge that left her empty. She thought about what she'd learned about herself, about love, about what actually mattered. I'm terrified, Elena admitted. Of getting hurt again. Of not being enough. Of losing this peace I've found. Me too, James said. Every single day since Anna died, I've been terrified of letting anyone close. Terrified that loving again means betraying her memory. Terrified that if I open my heart, it'll just get destroyed again. So what do? We choose bravery over fear. James shifted Mia and reached for Elena's hand. We choose to believe that not everyone is Marcus. That love doesn't always end in betrayal. We choose each other, scared and scarred and imperfect. Elena laced her fingers through his. What if we're not ready? Then we figure it out together. Mia giggled sleepily. Does this mean we're a family now? Elena looked at this little girl who'd helped her heal, at this man who'd given her shelter when she had nothing, at the ocean that had witnessed her transformation. Yeah, Elena said, her voice breaking with emotion. I think it does. 6 months later. The Coral Bay Celebration Company office sat right on Main Street, painted blue with white trim, flowers in the window boxes. Inside, Elena worked on an anniversary party while Mia did homework at the corner desk that James had built for her. Miss Elena, how do you spell happiness? Mia asked. Elena spelled it out, smiling at the sight of Mia carefully writing it in her notebook. She wore Anna's bracelet now, which James had given her 3 months ago, saying Anna would have loved her. The door opened and James came in, carrying lunch from the driftwood. They'd hired a manager for the cafe so James could spend more time with the celebration business. It turned out he was a talented designer, and they made a perfect team. Delivery for my 2 favorite people, James announced. 3 favorite people, Elena corrected, patting her stomach. They'd found out last week. Mia was going to be a big sister. James had cried. Mia had screamed with joy. Elena had felt terror and excitement in equal measure. For if you count the one in my belly, Mia said matter-of-factly, making them both laugh. As they ate lunch together, Elena's phone buzzed. A news alert. Marcus had been sentenced to 7 years for embezzlement. Sophia had taken a plea deal, testifying against both Marcus and Brad in exchange for a reduced sentence. Elena felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, not even relief. Just a distant acknowledgement that justice had been served, then she moved on. That chapter was closed. This chapter, the one where she lived in a small coastal town, ran a business she loved, had a partner who respected her and a daughter who adored her and a baby on the way, this was the chapter that mattered. You okay? James asked, noticing her phone. Perfect, Elena said, and meant it. That evening, they walked on the beach, Mia running ahead looking for shells. James held Elena's hand, and they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Do you ever regret it? James asked. How everything happened? Elena thought about it. I regret trusting the wrong people. I regret losing time to bitterness. But if it all hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. So no, I don't regret where I ended up. Even the revenge part? That, I regret a little. Not the justice of it, but the rage I carried. It didn't heal me. You did. Mia did. This place did. Elena looked at him. Love healed me. Revenge just closed the door. James kissed her forehead. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. Even with all my baggage? Especially with your baggage. It made you who you are. Mia came running back, hands full of shells. Look. I found enough for 3 necklaces. One for me, one for Miss Elena, and one for the baby. 4, James corrected gently. One for Anna too. We can put it on her grave. Mia nodded seriously. Mama would like that. They walked back as the sun dipped below the horizon. In the distance, the Coral Bay Celebration Company office glowed warmly. Their home was just beyond it, the little yellow house with wild roses. Elena looked back once at the ocean, at the waves that had witnessed her lowest point and her rebuilding. She'd come to Coral Bay broken and bent on survival. She was leaving the beach tonight whole, heading toward a future built on real love, real family, real purpose. Revenge had been empty. But redemption? Redemption was everything. As they reached the house, Elena paused. James? Yeah? Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. James pulled her close, Mia wrapping her arms around both of them. Thank you for letting yourself be seen. Inside, they made dinner together, Mia chattering about her day. They laughed when Elena burned the garlic bread. They danced in the kitchen when James turned on music. They tucked Mia in together, reading her favorite story. Later, Elena stood on their porch, James's arms around her, looking at the stars. Do you think it's really over? Elena asked quietly. The past? The past is never completely gone. But it doesn't have to haunt you. James kissed her temple. You're not defined by what Marcus did or what you did to him. You're defined by what you choose every day. And every day, you choose kindness, and love, and being present. That's who you are. Elena closed her eyes, breathing in the salt air, feeling the life growing inside her, surrounded by the love she'd never known she deserved. Marcus and Sophia had taken a lot from her. But in the end, they'd given her something too. They'd broken her so completely that she had to rebuild from scratch. And in rebuilding, she'd created something beautiful, something real, something they'd never understand. She'd found her heart's true reckoning. Not in revenge, but in redemption. Not in what she'd lost, but in what she'd gained. The past was a chapter that had ended. This was a new story now, and Elena was writing it on her own terms, one day, one choice, one moment of love at a time. And that was worth more than any revenge could ever be. The end.